news initiative in North America. I'm also very fortunate to have my colleague Mariana here, who does my job for Spanish-speaking Latin America. So you've got two Google folks in the room. We're going to keep to the original end date, which is 1:10. So we've started a bit late, but we will finish on time. So we're just going to kind of condense the material into that time so you guys can get to your next sessions. Pardon me? No, it's fine. And can everybody hear me okay? It's all good. I'm just also conscious that one, I have an accent, and two, I speak quite quickly. So I'll try and work on one of them, which is speaking quickly. This session today builds on the session we had yesterday on AI tools for news. And this is a deeper dive on two of those tools, NotebookLM, first of all, and Pinpoint. This session's very much kind of like show, not tell. So hopefully I can take you to the tools. I can show you where things are, press buttons, move things around. You get the idea. Can I just get a kind of like temperature check? Who was in that session yesterday? So a few of you were. Cool. So thank you again for coming back. I will try and keep it fresh. I'll reference some of the material we talked to yesterday, but today is the deeper dive. So hopefully it'll still be kind of new for you. And as I said, hard stop at 1:10. So let's get going. So we introduced NotebookLM in the session yesterday. Can I just ask, because we have a lot of different faces from yesterday, has anybody heard of NotebookLM? A few. Is anybody using NotebookLM? Cool, that's good to know. So for those of you that don't know, NotebookLM or NLM, that's kind of the abbreviation for it. It's like a custom AI research assistant that can summarize facts, explain complex ideas, generate connections, all based on the sources that you choose. So when we say that, we mean it's source grounded. So unlike other AI tools, NLM is only going to provide information on the sources you give it. It will only look to your points of truth to give you that data. Pinpoint is the same. Pinpoint is also source grounded. So that's just something to be mindful of. From December of last year, 2024, it uses Gemini 2.0. That's the latest model of Gemini, or was until this week when Gemini 2.5 launched, but NotebookLM runs on Gemini 2.0. So with NotebookLM, you can create basically like a collection of files. In this case, we call them notebooks. That's kind of their name. And you can have notebooks on like a specific topic or story, or like if you cover a specific beat or country. Just think about how you would structure it as journalists kind of to satisfy your needs. Maybe that's actually a challenge for you. As we go through it, think about how you would structure a notebook for how you wanted to use it like in your real life. So in terms of how it works, first, it's actually very easy to use, in all honesty. All you have to do is you upload your sources, and the total you can upload to each notebook is 50 sources. That's on the free version of Notebook, so you have 50 sources per notebook. Now, in terms of the types of files you can upload, you have a variety here. You can upload Google Docs, Google Slides, PDFs, text and markdown files, web URLs, copy-pasted text, YouTube URLs of public videos, obviously, and audio files. The flag here is that NotebookLM currently doesn't support Google Sheets or spreadsheets or CSVs. So if you have that kind of data that you want to upload into a tool, perhaps Pinpoint would be better because you can upload them into Pinpoint. So there's a kind of like delineation between the two tools. Each of those sources can be up to 500,000 words or 200 megabytes for uploaded files. So basically, even in the free version of NotebookLM, you have quite a substantial bandwidth, if you like, to play with. NotebookLM is really good at summarizing and synthesizing to make sense of your sources. So when you first add a source file or files into NotebookLM, it automatically generates a summary of those source files in terms of key topics. It happens automatically, and it's a very smart piece of functionality. And basically that kind of introduction, it makes your sources much more manageable because it does the heavy lifting and giving you like a brief summary that you can like take and digest. And, you know, it's your kind of lift-off point, if you like, for your understanding. You get a high-level understanding of your sources, but you can also choose to be more specific on those sources by interrogating the sources with your own questions, or the tool gives you like preset questions that you can ask it. So again, it kind of like it's a jump start to that creativity about how you can use it. It's also very good from a tool. You can input A, your sources, you can get B in terms of different content out. So for example, you can upload a load of PDFs as your input, as your sources, and from that, your output could be a study guide, a briefing doc, frequently asked questions, a timeline, and as of last week, you can also do a mind map. So that's a very new feature that just dropped last week. In terms of translation and transcription, NLM does not do direct translation, but you can upload audio or video files, excuse me, audio, video files, or text in one language, get the results, the summary in another language, and ask questions of it in another language. So the example I'll give to you today is I've uploaded a PDF in French, you get a summary in English, and you can ask that French PDF, that French source, questions in English and get answers back in English. So it kind of does that kind of aspect of it. You can interact with NotebookLM and gain more understanding of your sources through easy to understand interfaces, and I'll show you this. It really is quite easy to use. This is easier to show, not tell, but the NotebookLM page basically has like 3 parts to it, if you like. On the left, you have all your sources, all the data you've chosen to upload. You can interrogate them all together. Say you have 10 sources, or if you only want to interrogate 2, you can select 2. So you have that control. In the middle of your notebook screen, you've got a guide where the overall summary is like instantly generated. That's generated automatically, like I said. And then the selected question, the kind of pre-populated questions will be there. And that's also where you can ask your own question. NotebookLM is also great. Oh, sorry, on the right-hand side, it's where you produce like the new stuff, the content. So on the right-hand side, you can create your own note, just a free text field, or you can create like a study guide, as I said, a timeline, frequently asked questions, a quiz kind of thing. So you basically 3 sections of the home screen. What NotebookLM is really good at, it's really good at providing clear citations for its work. So it shows you the exact quotes from your sources and allows you to verify information and delve deeper into where that actually came from. You just click on it and it'll take you to the source. So it's a really good way to check stuff. And lastly, what I would say is, again, it's important, while NotebookLM's, again, the caveat here, I suppose, folks, is while NotebookLM's source grounding does seem to reduce hallucinations. Hallucinations are not a massive problem with NotebookLM. We always recommend that you check anything you've generated with artificial intelligence. It's just common sense. It's just good practice to check through your sources and make sure you're happy with what has been generated. And then lastly, kind of this is the really fun part, if you like, is listen and learn on the go, we're calling it. I mentioned this briefly yesterday in our introductory session, but NotebookLM had a bit of a viral moment last year, and it kind of broke the internet with this specific feature. NotebookLM is a feature called Audio Overview, and it's a new way to turn your documents into an engaging audio discussion. With one click, you can generate a podcast, and it's basically 2 AI hosts start up like a lively discussion based on the source material that you have uploaded. They banter back and forth. It's all very kind of natural sounding. There's like ums and ahs, and very, very natural sounding human speech. It doesn't sound robotic at all. It's a very, very clever feature. You can download that conversation and take it as you go. Yes, sir. So I played about with it this morning. You can't seem to download it as far as I'm aware yet. You can listen to it. I think the easiest way to share it with other people is if you share your notebook with another person and they can access it there. But when we're on the page, we can kind of poke around with the functionality and see what it looks like. That helps. Again, when it comes to the audio overviews, they're usually about 20 minutes. What I would suggest is before you share it, before you like send it off to anybody, before you think it, like listen to all of it. It's AI generated. All the audio generations are watermarked with something we call Synth ID. Synth ID basically watermarks and identifies AI generated content by embedding digital watermarks directly into the AI generated images, audio, text, or video. So you have that kind of foolproof system, if you like, of validation. In terms of policies, common sense really, NotebookLM's policies require users to respect copyright laws and do not share copyrighted content without authorization. Users must avoid uploading documents to NotebookLM where they don't have the applicable rights to these documents. Again, common sense. NotebookLM may remove notebooks and audio overviews when our systems detect a possible violation of Google's terms of service, including the prohibited use policy. Again, common sense. So again, it's just kind of like basic stuff. With anything AI generated, check it, listen to it, make sure you're happy with what it's saying, and be mindful of the sources you use to produce it. Okay, so let's do a live demo. Let me take you to Notebook. I was in it this morning. So here we are, folks. Here's NotebookLM. This is my account. Here's me up in the corner. As I have 4 notebooks set up. You can see the ones I've set up. I'll talk to some of them today. I'll kind of dip in and dip out so you can see different aspects of them. They're really easy to start. So if you want to create a new notebook, just create new. What I wanted to say here, folks, is here's your different kind of types of folder you can upload. So from your Google Drive, Docs, and Slides, but not Sheets. You can link to a website or a YouTube video. You can paste text, and again, you just choose file to upload. It's that kind of functionality you'll probably be familiar with. And down here is your source limit in terms of how many sources you can have per notebook. So you have, with the free version of NotebookLM, you have 50 sources max per notebook. So that's kind of the basics. So I'll just come out of that, folks, because I just wanted to show you kind of the intro stuff. Let's go to this. This is kind of a fun collection to look at. So this is the notebook. These are transcripts of the Apollo 11 astronauts that were done in the late 90s, all about kind of the Apollo Gemini space program. So you might recognize some very famous names on the left-hand side. These are your 3 kind of areas, if you like, 1, 2, 3. Here's your sources. I have all of the sources highlighted, but if you only want to pick one source, you can just pick that one, and it will interrogate that. Got all of the sources. You can add a source there, etc. This John Yardley NASA oral history, this summarization is automatically generated when you upload your sources. It just appears almost instantaneously, like a few seconds. As you read it, this is a great way to start. So if you've got a long list of sources and you're like, where do I even start? Excuse me, with this information, read that, basically start there. Then what you've got is you've got options to save to note. When you save to anything, I'll drop it in here. Kind of drop into the right-hand side. So when you generate any kind of your own content from your sources, it basically appears in this right-hand panel. Audio overview, we'll come back to. That's kind of the podcast element. Mind map, I'll come back to in a moment. This is very new. This only appeared last week. So it shows you how quickly this product is actually developing. You have automatically generated questions. These are great ways to approach, once you've read the summary, these are great ways to approach the content in terms of like a thought starter. So we can ask this question. I'll read the question out. Considering his extensive involvement, what were John Yardley's most significant contributions to NASA's human spaceflight program? So you can see that initial question is pretty advanced. It's not a basic question. It's quite a sophisticated question. And then again, you can see here's the answers effectively, or the answer that it gives you. You know, it structures it out, it breaks it down, it bullet points it, subparagraphs, etc. Want to highlight the citations. So if you're ever in any doubt, you can hover over the little button and you can see the citation, or if you click on it, it'll take you to the citation in the source guide. I'll highlight it over here if you're ever in any doubt. You can also ask your own questions. There's actually quite a few initial questions that are set up. You can cycle through them, etc., which it seems to be doing. You know, how did the Apollo and Gemini spacecraft design philosophies differ? Again, these questions are quite sophisticated, right? It's not like, when did they go to the moon? You know, it's bigger than that, and they're automatically there. And we can ask our own question. What was I'm just totally picking this off the top of my head. What was the approach to crew mental health? Pertinent question. There we go. And here is so I have asked this question, and here is the answer that I get. And again, it's a fairly robust answer across all of these sources, and you have the citations that you can click through and access them. And obviously, if you want to save that, if it's useful, you can save to note. You can drop it in here. You can copy it to your clipboard. You can put it in an email, put it in a presentation, put it wherever you want, kind of thing. Let's look at kind of some of the content that you can generate from your sources. This is the kind of the fun stuff, and this is the part that perhaps could save you a lot of time. I'll just delete these out, so we've got like a tidy workspace. Again, super easy to generate, super easy to delete. It's really easy. So we're kind of starting afresh. Let's generate a study guide. And it takes a few moments to do, but it doesn't take very long, to be honest. So here we go. That took, what, less than 5 seconds? So understanding the space race and Apollo program, a study guide. So here's the quiz. It's generated a quiz. We have 10 fairly robust, sophisticated questions, and we have 10 fairly robust, sophisticated answers. Now, just if I may reference my colleague Mariana here, there's also essay format questions. Mariana also works with students at a university in Mexico City, and she used NotebookLM's functionality to do this, to set a quiz for her students. Mariana, how long would that have taken you if you had to do it yourself? A couple of hours? Exactly. And and they complained about how difficult the questions were. But the great thing was, you know, something that could have taken Mariana 2-3 hours to put together was generated in a couple of seconds. And that allowed Mariana to allocate her considerable time and expertise elsewhere, you know, to spending time with her students, one-on-ones, checking in, her own research. And that's kind of a nice way to approach AI. Let it do the boring stuff. Let it do the admin. Let it do the heavy lifting so you can go off and be creative and spend time with people and generate connections, etc. What I would say, let's generate something else. So I'll just bin that, folks, so we can kind of keep it tidy. This is a really nice feature, the timeline feature. And again, it'll just take a few moments to come through. While we're here, there's the share functionality at the top. So you can share it, I beg your pardon, from the question from the gentleman in the middle. So you can share it with people who are like in your address book in terms of that respect. Everything you do is private by default. It's up to you whether you choose to share it. And again, check it before you share it, obviously, which you would do anyway. And obviously you can copy that link and drop it in as well. Well, yeah, because it's a Google product, so it uses that kind of same Google interface to share. So just FYI, because I am, for reasons, logged in my Gmail, it's accessing my Gmail address book, not my corporate at Google address book, just based on who I'm based in on. I'd signed in on, see if you see the icon up in the corner. Let's look at the timeline. I think this is very helpful. Again, if you've got lots of sources, if you have a complicated topic, you're kind of trying to get your head around what happened when, did this happen before that, etc. Generate the timeline, start at the top, get to the bottom, and you can kind of understand it. One thing I do want to flag, folks, and it's just something I noticed quite recently, while the automatic questions and the questions you generated, the user-generated questions, always offer a citation, it seems to be when you create any kind of new content, so if you create a study guide or a pop quiz or essay questions, there are no citations here. So I just want to flag that. That's not to say there won't be citations in the future. NotebookLM as a product is evolving hugely quickly, and new features and new functionality are being released weekly. We had my mind map yesterday, for example. So I would just be mindful of that in terms of the citations. Just delete that. So we've got what we're kind of playing with. Do the mind map on this one. Let's have a look at the mind map. As I say, this is a very new feature. Any questions I can help with while that's generating? You all good? After this, we'll move on to Pinpoint. I just want to show you one more thing, and it's the translation, not translation, but transcription kind of aspect. I'll do that on another notebook. So here we go. It's opened up. That's what it looks like. So you've got the early space program experience, and then you could just click through. And you can see, because of this, it's a big topic. There's lots of sources. There's lots of mind maps. So you can see, you copy paste that. You can put it in another document. Again, it's just a really nice feature to help your understanding. And it is fresh as paint. It only released last week. So that's something there. So last thing we're going to look at on Notebook, we're going to look at our the translation feature. Kind of call it a translation feature, and also the audio overview. So this is this is an interesting document. This is the City of Ottawa's waste management strategy document. It is as exciting as you think. It's a Government of Canada document. It is, by law, has to be in 2 languages. This is the French version. So you can see the structure of it there. It's a big PDF. It's a detailed topic. Even though the document is in French, the summary has been generated in English, and I can ask questions of it in English, and I will get an answer back in English. So it's that nice translation feature. I've also generated a podcast from this. The podcast usually takes a couple of minutes, so don't do it last minute if you need it then there and then. It takes no more than 5, but like 2 or 3 minutes to do. So welcome to a podcast about the Ottawa waste management strategy until 2050.
Okay, so I'm really asking the kind of stuff to dig into. But this one you really out with yourselves, and we're talking about whole master plan here. So you have like the waste master plan, or PMG, as they call it. When you find one of those things that might surprise you, and basically figure out, what do I mean for the future of waste here in Ottawa?
Get the idea. The topic might not be that interesting. I mean, if anybody's interested in the City of Ottawa's waste management plan till 2050, please do let me know. But you saw how easy it was done. In terms of the audio quality, with no disrespect to the room, it sounds fuzzy because it's coming through these speakers. It's actually crystal clear coming from your laptop. It's really simple to do. Can I come to you in a moment, ma'am? Because a gentleman at the back asked a question too. So you can share it, judged by the functionality here. You can't seem to download it. You could perhaps share it to another system and download from there. But at the moment, it's just a share. But again, what I would say with NotebookLM, it really is evolving so quickly. Check back in a week and you can probably do different things with it. That's what I'd say. Yes. The script, I don't know if you get a script. I think you can only listen to it. You just hear the audio. Perhaps what you could do, and I'm perhaps thinking round in circles, if you shared it, downloaded it, and then re-uploaded that as its own source, it would transcribe itself. So you could have the transcribe in that way. But at the moment, when you generate the podcast, it's just audio. You don't get the transcription at the moment. Pardon me? So they really go deep, if I'm honest. It's not just brief, like, hey, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and they're done in 90 seconds. It's 20 minutes. But the caveat to that is, if you're generating one, listen to all 20 minutes to make sure. It's not objective, it's an AI-generated discussion. It's usually about 20 minutes. I think it depends, the length of time of the podcast, it depends on how many sources you upload and how long those sources are. There's no kind of hard and fast rule to it, if I'm honest. Yes, sorry, sir, you had a question. So the question was, can you like edit it? Can you ask it specific questions? You can't ask it questions at the moment. You generate the podcast and the podcast appears. You're quite limited thus far about how you can share it, for example, etc., how you download it. If you shared it and then downloaded it, I think you could then edit it, say perhaps into a shorter version, but you couldn't ask them to say, hey, please talk more about topic X, topic Y, topic Z. It's just like an input, output kind of process right now. You can't really do much, kind of slice and dice it as you want. Hi, we're just going to take a few more questions because we've got 20 minutes left and we haven't even done Pinpoint yet, folks. And we need to, so okay. I think this lady over here was first, and then I'll go to you. All right. So if you're going to upload, so NotebookLM, if the output you want is audio in terms of NotebookLM, the input should be something else. Should be like a PDF or a scanned document or whatever. If you have audio files that you want to transcribe or in some way perhaps change that transcription, you can do that in Pinpoint. So this is why we do these two products together. They are similar in some ways, but they're also quite different in their approach in others. And I think it's important to note that with Notebook and Pinpoint, they're not mutually exclusive. If you do everything in one, you don't need to not have the other. Like, kind of let them bounce off each other, because even though they are quite similar, they're also quite different as well, and they complement each other, is what I'd say. I'll take one last question, if I may, on NotebookLM, this lady over here, and then we'll do Pinpoint. So the NotebookLM, so this is a great question, and thank you for asking that. I actually just tested the interactive mode this morning, and it didn't work. So I don't know. I'm perfectly honest with you. Again, it's in beta. It might be a little buggy. It might be a little laggy. Just, I'm going to take this away and play with it and find it out. What I would say with NotebookLM, like, it's free, sign up, upload some sources, and just play about with it, because it really is pretty easy to use. And if you get something that you don't particularly like or is not particularly useful, you can just delete it and try again. I would say that's kind of the approach. Cool. We're all good with NotebookLM. If I may, just conscious of time, because we've got a hard stop in 20 minutes, I'm just going to go into Pinpoint. Oh, and as I say, just kind of rounding it out, if you want a process of something to do that's fun over the weekend, download your own CV or your own resume, upload that into Pinpoint and into NotebookLM, and get a podcast about yourself. It's an illuminating experience. I have one in one of my notebooks. It's fun. I challenge you to get more than 30 seconds in before you think I can't cope with this, because it's so wild. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to do. In terms of further resources, the Help Center for NotebookLM, as with any Google Help Center, there's lots of questions. If you don't know, just dip in there and find it out. That's a link to sign up to the tool. I also have a QR code on the next screen to make it easier for you. And lastly, there's a really good inside NotebookLM with Reza Martin and Stephen Johnson, who are kind of like the two geniuses behind it, with a lady called Dr. Alice Roberts, who's a mathematician from the UK, and they just kick the tires in Notebook for about 45 minutes. It's a really interesting podcast from the Google DeepMind podcast. It's on YouTube. It's a great place to start. And again, that's a QR code if anybody wants to take their phones out and just quickly scan it. I'll give you a moment. There is also a premium version of Notebook called NotebookLM Plus. More storage, more customization options, but I would say that the free version of Notebook is very, very sophisticated. It's the one I showed you today. Just start there, see how you go on. Second half of our session today is on Pinpoint. And I want to remind you of the basics if you were here yesterday, and if you weren't here yesterday, kind of introduce the tool. So Pinpoint is a source-grounded AI tool for data analysis, source-grounded like NotebookLM. It will only give you responses on the information that you give it. So like NotebookLM, it's the same. The URL to access Pinpoint is on that slide. Then there's a button on the page to get started once you click through. You do need a Google account to access a Pinpoint account, and once you request the access, you should be good to go in about 24 hours. The Pinpoint team are very responsive, which is great in both external and internal queries, so they should generate it quite quickly to give you an account. Can I ask who's using Pinpoint? Is anyone using Pinpoint? So just a few. Mariana is obviously using Pinpoint. Really, really clever, sophisticated tool. I just have a question for the journalists in here. Has anybody ever filed an FOI? Freedom of information. If I may, can I just pick this lady at the back? How many sources, because we were talking earlier, how many sources did you get when you got your FOI? Like sources, like individual, like pieces of information. Docs. So Pinpoint is really good for when you're given a huge body of information and you want to make sense of that huge body of information. Pinpoint is really good at that. If you're a journalist and you want and need to sift through lots of information, if you want to find a needle in a haystack, Pinpoint is the tool for you because it's very good at that. It's specifically built for journalists, so again, kind of identify that delineation. Compared to NotebookLM, Pinpoint is more for like a power user, if you like an investigative reporter who needs to go deep into a particular subject. There are greater file limits and file formats compared to NotebookLM, so you've got more kind of formats to play with in terms of bandwidth and types of files that you might need in terms of your reporting. And if you really need to find a needle in a haystack, Pinpoint is the tool for you. So before we get into the live demo, let's kind of break down the functionality. So search is a core functionality of Pinpoint. It uses the Google Knowledge Graph, so that database of billions of records to kind of analyze the data, people, places, things, etc. It has a feature called OCR, optical character recognition, and it uses AI technology. So users can quickly search through documents, images, audio recordings, and more. You can ask AI to ask questions of your sources. You can get suggested questions from AI itself. You can do all of this in seconds. You get 100 gigabytes of storage with a Pinpoint account. You have an unlimited amount of collections. Collections are how you just kind of organize your files, the file structure, if you like, in Pinpoint. Each collection can hold 200,000 files, so you have a lot to play with. These files can be PDFs, emails, images. I won't go into the whole list because I'll show you how many different file types Pinpoint can support, and it's much more than NotebookLM. So again, that's like a point of differentiation. Pinpoint's great at pulling out proper names, peoples, places, companies, organizations, great at finding specific dates, so you can see the cold hard facts from your sources very quickly. And again, great search functionality for data points, and you can ask questions of your sources to get information from that too. You can transcribe audio and video files. You can't translate, you can transcribe. It does it automatically. I found a little translation hack, which I'm going to try and show you today. When you upload an audio or a video file to Pinpoint, it will automatically make a time-stamped transcription of it. You can download, etc. Saves you a huge amount of time. I know transcription takes a long time. And then you can use AI to ask questions of that source. Pinpoint also lets you organize and make sense of data to standardize it and make it more understandable. This is a beta feature, which I'll show you as well. We call this SDC, Structured Data Control. I can't remember, something like that. Structured Data Control. So if you have a set of similarly structured data, if you have a set of similarly structured documents with lots of data, but you only want to look at this versus this versus this, you can pull that out and create like your own data table. You can export, you can add it to... You can put it in a pivot table, you can add formulas, you can slice and dice it however much you want. So you can take like years of property records, for example, and just pull out specific aspects and then take that away, kind of make your own data analysis of it. Important note to do with generative AI is built into Pinpoint. I had a great question actually yesterday from the lady over there. You have to request access to the generative AI features of Pinpoint. So when you get your account, they're not there automatically. You need to request them. As far as I'm aware, nobody has been declined, and it takes about 24 hours. It just seems to be a step in the process from the product team. There is a link that it's on the deck there, and there should be a QR code. You can kind of access all that at the end. Obviously, as well, conscious that as journalists, you don't work in a bubble, right? You want to share your collections, you want to collaborate with your teammates, with other colleagues, etc. So you can share collections and documents with colleagues for research or for fact-checking. You can have multiple collaborators in a Pinpoint account. You can stay organized with custom labels. You can color code, you can change names, you can add naming conventions, etc. You can do all of that nice stuff. And lastly, in terms of privacy, before our demo, document collections are created private by default. They're protected by Google's industry-leading privacy and security technologies. Data uploaded to Pinpoint is not used to train our Google AI models. The same privacy and security applies to it and your Google Drive or your Gmail. It's a very secure system, and you can see that because it's used by so many journalists around the world. So we'll do a demo. Extensive notes because there's so much to talk about. Just come out of Notebook and I'll go to Pinpoint. So if anybody hasn't used Pinpoint, a great place to start, folks, is there's two areas here. I would suggest you start on the Explore tab there, first of all. Basically, on the Explore tab is a collection of collections from other news organizations around the world who have been using Pinpoint and have shared their collections so you can check them out. So again, anything you do is private by default. If you choose to share it, it basically ends up on that page. You can see the list of all the organizations. I won't go through all of them, but they're not all just North American. They're not all in English. This is used extensively by news organizations all around the world, and also not just exclusively in English, which is encouraging. I want to just show you one. You can get a feel of it. Go to the AP. So the Associated Press have been using this for a while. This is an investigation into the 2023 Maui County wildfires. This is just nice because you basically kind of organized it in a nice way. So it's kind of a useful way to like see how it's kind of good practice, if you like. So here are all their sources. And there's hundreds of sources in here, FYI. They've done an element of labeling. And if you're into color coding, I love a bit of color coding. You can add labels, you can color code your labels, you can organize it how you want to. They've done that, such a nice little feature there. You can search by date, very good for dates. So I think the Maui wildfires were in August of 2023. So let's just look for dates for 2023, 01, 01, 2023, 07, 31. So basically up to the end of July. Apply the filter. It's added that date filter there, and you can click through of any incidence of a date between that date range. So if you know that your sources contain a specific date you want to look to, enter that specific date, and it'll find it. Out of that. People automatically pulls out people. This is obviously it's a huge list, but if you want to see how many times Herman and Dea is mentioned, click on it. It'll come up there, and you can always click into the doc itself and find how many times this particular individual is mentioned. It's highlighted so you can kind of scroll through it. And in this particular document, 1 of 5, you can scroll through it up there. I'll get out of that. Dates, people, organizations, locations are always fun because, if you need to find something location-wise. Search functionality is up here. You can click through on anything, obviously. Let me try and get like a document here. You can share up here. You can get the link. You can share it. Well, you can share it. You don't own the doc, so you can share the link to people. You can't share the subject of the collections, obviously, but if it's your own collection, you can share it that way. So that's just a nicely kind of like organized, if you like, collection. If I may, I'll take you into like some of my collections just for demonstrative purposes. My workspace, all my stuff. All sorts of different things in here. If you were to start a new private collection, again, it's super easy. What I want to pull out from this particular screen is these are the types of file types that are supported, like audio docs, emails, PDFs, PNGs, etc. This is the important one here, folks. That gives you an idea of how many different file types you can upload. So it's way better than NotebookLM in that respect in terms of the different types. The Pinpoint product teams say they very rarely get asked for a different type of file type to support because they've got them all. They're all there. So it's something to kind of be mindful of. We'll just come out of that for the moment. I won't build it, because conscious of time, I won't build a new document from scratch, but I'll take you into, or sort of collections from scratch. I'll take you into some collections that have been set up already so you can kind of see them. This is our NASA transcripts. Again, it's a good kind of source file to use. You've got your search document. You've got automatically opens here. That's kind of the automatic kind of filtering, dates, people, organizations, locations. Earth is mentioned, which I think is quite fun in this document. That's a Gemini functionality we'll come back to in a minute. I want to show you how good the search is. So for example, if we search for moon, as you can imagine, the word moon comes out a lot. It also looks for synonyms, so you get the word lunar as well as moon. If you want to be specific about search terms, just use your search operators, and it will only pick out that word. So it's incredibly good at finding a needle in a haystack, looking through all these documents. That out. This is also quite fun because it uses NASA's knowledge graph, that kind of database of billions of records. If we look for Buzz Aldrin, who is mentioned a lot, it knows that Buzz Aldrin's real name was, or is, because Buzz Aldrin's still with us, is Edwin Aldrin. So it pulls it out there. So it searches for both Buzz and Edwin. Should he be referred to by his proper name, it will do that. Moving on to the Gemini aspect, you can ask a question. You have this summarize option. The summarize option, in terms of focus on a specific topic from the collection, it doesn't like too many topics being, or too many sources being selected. So if we just select like 2 and go, like space, we'll just do something brief. Summarize it like this, and it will pull it out. Don't try and select everything and then ask it to summarize, because it's almost like too much and it'll kind of hang and freeze a bit. Again, it's summarized it. You've got the citation, so you can click through. You can also compare to some subjects. So you can compare, say, Apollo, forgive my spelling, Gemini, there. Sorry, you have to do 3, that's what it is. I don't know why it's not doing it, but anyway, you can compare them, you get kind of the idea. And also you can use Gemini, ask questions. When was Neil born? And it'll go away and it'll search your sources and it will return that needle in a haystack. This is quite good, and I deliberately chose that question. The provided text does not mention Neil Armstrong's birthday because there is no source for that. That data point does not exist. So if you're looking for something that's not there, it'll tell you that it's not there. What else do I want to show you quickly? No podcast. Podcasts are NotebookLM. Something called optical data, the OCR aspect of it. It's very good at finding a needle in a haystack. Let's look for this word, Loomis. Loomis is an actual person. This is a fairly difficult to read, if I'm honest, scanned document from the late 60s. It's typewritten and it finds his name down there at the bottom. Another nice aspect of it here, and this is optical character recognition. Let's look for the word state. As you would imagine, this word would feature quite a lot in a document based on the US's space program. That. Now, this is cute. This is handwritten with a pencil, I think, on an angle in fairly florid handwriting, and it finds that word state. So that's optical character recognition. It can put, so think about birth records or death records that might be handwritten, police notes, your own notes, just scribbled in the corner of a post-it note or at the back of a receipt or something, it would be able to find that. So it's a very, very powerful tool. We've only got a few moments left. Is everybody okay if I do like 1 or 2 moments over? Would that be okay? I mean, you're more than welcome to leave if you want to. There's so much with Pinpoint to show. What I want to show you here, the Spanish language. So this is a short transcript of an English speaker speaking Spanish. If I play this, you'll be able to hear her voice. The veracity of the translation of the transcription, but you can do it. A little hack I found was I'm going to ask Gemini to translate this to English. Now, I think Gemini can do this because the recording, the file itself is quite short. It should be able to do it because I did it earlier on. Boom, The Fables of Aesop, recorded for LibriVox.org by Christina Chu. So it's translated it into English. Again, it's a short file, which I think is why it can do it. 2 more very quick things to show you. The transcripts, I want to show you this. And apologies, I'm going to, my own voice recorded. I'm going to submit you to that. This is a recording of Google News Initiative Labs we do that I did at the end of last year. We record all the sessions. I had to do a record with this particular session because there was an issue with the recording. I just had to do it again. There is the automatically generated transcript. It's time-stamped. I'm going to play it, and again, apologies for the sound quality. I want you to, at 11 seconds, I want you to read and listen, if I may, just here. And again, apologies for my voice. So I'm just pointing out that it's not perfect because I say you really value these recordings and it picks up, you guys really value these according. They're not the same thing. So again, with transcripts, please do sense check, please just check it. And also automatically it generates an overview. This is a transcript of a Google News Initiative program session on audience development delivered by ANC. My name is Ian C. My family name initial is Christie C. So I think it's read Ian C as ANC. So again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Sense check it with anything. And rounding it out, folks, honestly, I'll just be 2 more minutes because there's just some more features I want to show you. We're going to go to, this is a nice set, country profiles. We're going to look to the structured data, extract the structured data. This again is in beta, so it's not 100% great, but it's useful. So if you've got a collection of similarly structured documents, you can pull data out that you can use, slice and dice, put a pivot on it, do whatever you want with it. These are country reports from Wikipedia. They're just nice to do because they all look the same. There's 10 of them, 10 different countries. We call this, Pinpoint will automatically like pick a document at random which you can then use to apply all your tasks to. This is what we call it, your golden document, because it's the golden one, it's the one you want to look at. If you ever want to change that golden document, so particularly you don't want to look at France, you just change it here, place golden document, and you can pick one. It's up to you. So you always have that control. There are 4 parts of this screen. You've got the document itself, the golden document here. You've got like the order, like what you want to look for. You've got your logic, how it builds it. And at the bottom, you've got your preview. So for example, if you want to look at a key value, let's say you want to look at who the chief of state is for all of these countries. In the case of France, Monsieur Macron. Pull it right across because you never know how long their names are going to be. And it'll start to build that logic over here. So in terms of key and value, the key is chief of state, the value is the name of that person, which will change document to document. It'll be different for China, it'll be different for Colombia, it'll be different for Venezuela, etc. Let's look at the capital. See the logic being built over on the right-hand side, and you can see the table being built at the bottom. So if you want to see what it looks like for China, click into that. So you can like sense check it, and then you can just go back to your golden doc. For tables, make your own table. So let's look at largest cities. I'll just pick that. Have to name it. You can also manipulate the table. You can drag things across, etc. Largest cities. Again, the logic is building down here. The preview is coming at the bottom. See that largest cities. Sorry, I'm just dragging. Oops, drag and drop that. Change it there, and you can see it starting to build it up. It's building its own table. It's not 100% right. If I'm honest, when I was using this morning, it was a little buggy. Yesterday, it was fine. It's in beta, but give it a go. See what it can do. And I think in terms of demonstration, I think that's everything I want to show you. Round it out, if I may, on this. Yeah, so that was the demo. Great resources with Pinpoint. Ask Pinpoint questions. The team are amazing. They get back to you promptly. They're super helpful. They're uploading new, different kind of functionality, new features on a weekly basis. In fact, this deck is already out of date because you've added something new as of yesterday. I just haven't had a chance to add it. So this product is moving very quickly. Sign up to use the tool is there. You have to remember you have to apply early for those generative AI features. Oh, sorry, if anybody wants to get a photograph of that link, I can do it. That's just a little table that kind of might help you delineate the difference between NotebookLM and Pinpoint. They are quite similar in theory. They are very different in practice. I would suggest using both of them because they are both free. They both do different things really well, and use them complementary. You know, they can be 2 pillars and 2 tools that you use in your kind of career as journalists. And lastly, we never got to this yesterday because we ran out of time. We do appreciate you coming to these sessions, guys. Thank you so much for coming today. Please do give us your feedback on these sessions. We tend to do these remotely. We prefer to do them in person because then we can answer questions. We can help you guys out. If you can take a moment to just take that QR code and basically help the Google News Initiative support the journalism industry. And with that, thank you so much. I'm here for any questions if anybody has any specific queries, but hopefully that was a decent enough deep dive into the two tools. Thank you.